Hi everyone. We're going to watch Los Olvidados, and I'm going to introduce the film to you. Again, this film is called Los Olvidados, which in Spanish translates into The Forgotten Ones. Although, if you're looking for the English title of the film, it's actually when it was released in the United States, it was called The Young and the Damned. The movement we're looking at is called Mexican social realism. An ironic title because Luis Buñuel was actually not Mexican, he was Spanish. And he lived in Mexico as an exile for nearly 2 decades. He made quite a few films there, and this is one of the most famous ones. It's basically a stark and brutally honest view of the lives of the Mexican underclass. So you can start to see a trend here where Mexican social realism sort of picks up where Italian neorealism leaves off. And this shows not just one person's quest, but sort of a portrait of an entire underclass, an entire class of people who have been marginalized, which are the poorest of the poor in Mexico City in 1950. Hardly the type of movie that you would take a date to, or the type of movie that anyone in 1950 really expected to go to or to watch. Which is why when the film was received or released in Mexico, it was received very poorly. And as you will watch in one of the two short context videos I provide, people wanted Buñuel's head in Mexico, especially the middle class and the upper classes. They were furious when this film was made. They saw this interloper, a Spanish exile, coming to their country and criticizing their society by revealing the tragic nature of poverty in their country. So the film was shut down within about a week. Luckily, the film went to Cannes that year, and it won Best Picture, Best Director for Luis Buñuel, and it shot him to international fame. So after he won the big prize at Cannes, the film came back to Mexico, and Buñuel was celebrated, ironically, as a great Spanish filmmaker in Mexico. So the film was re-released in Mexico, and since that time, it's become one of those movies that people really have a hard time forgetting. And I think you will too. It makes a very strong impression. So it's the portrait of one young boy in particular named Pedro, who is a very sweet and likable boy, but not unlike Antoine in The 400 Blows, ends up in really awful situations through no real fault of his own necessarily, and you'll see what happens to him. Now, Luis Buñuel, before he even arrived in Mexico, was known as a surrealist. And this film is really unique because it uses, or more precisely, Buñuel uses surrealism in service of social realism, in service of a very harsh, brutally honest social realism. Now, what is surrealism? Well, for our purposes, we're going to keep it simple because this is not truly a surrealist movie. It's a social realist movie with elements of surrealism. So surrealism is essentially, as Luis Buñuel defines it, irrational images and obsessions. Irrational. So we are relying heavily here on Freud's depiction of the unconscious. Again, we come back to that iceberg. Only the tip of our mental iceberg, according to Freud, is conscious. The rest is underwater, and we are entirely unaware of it, though it does come out in our dreams, it comes out in our fantasies, and it also manifests itself in our daily behavior, though not necessarily in a conscious way. So how do you take that unconsciousness and put it into images and sounds? That, when you do it, is a form of surrealism. And when you do it, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Just like our dreams don't make a great deal of sense. Furthermore, Buñuel uses surrealism to portray, as he puts it, the extraordinary absurdity of even the most ordinary lives. Now, what he means by ordinary here is not natural or normal. What he means is the most humble, the poorest of lives. The film is also an attack on hypocrisy and conventional morality. So it's commonly seen that this film is really not attacking the people in the film, even though he portrays them in a very honest and brutal way, and he reveals them to be brutal as well. These children that we see are miserable. Some of them are awfully cruel. People can sometimes mistake the film as a critique of them. It's not. It's a critique on the people who claim that they would be helping them, of these governments, of these social agencies that apparently are supposed to help the poor, the underclass, and don't do so. So he's attacking this idea of people who criticize the poor for their own problems. As he says, the lives of these young people in Mexico City filled me with great tenderness, which I needed to express through what some consider cruelty. So Buñuel actually went out and he did research for this film. And you'll notice that the outfit that Pedro wears, the Oshkosh Bagosh type of overalls, the overalls that he wears are based on photographs and children that he's met. That image is based on an actual photograph of a child that he took. Pedro is a composite of many young boys that he went out and photographed and talked to, and he investigated and researched. And he felt so touched and so pained by what these children's lives were like, that he felt he owed it to them to accurately portray their lives. And the drama is powerful. What are the elements of social realism that Buñuel uses in the film? Well, a lot of them you'll recognize. Outdoor locations, non-professional actors, very low budget production, and a focus on the working classes. What I really want you to look for more than anything is the use of animals in the film. How are animals incorporated into the story? There are a lot of them, and they're incorporated in a seemingly, apparently natural way. But when you really think about why those animals are in the shot, you will notice that they don't need to be there. And the way that Buñuel incorporates them into the story is weird, is surreal. I also want you to pay attention to the use of a very famous dream sequence, one of the most famous dream sequences, a really terrifying dream sequence that Pedro has. And finally, I want you to pay attention to the use of female body parts, legs, backs, arms, how he focuses on them and the way they are used that seems to be natural but is very surreal, and what the meaning of those shots are. The use of animals, the use of the dream sequence, and the use of this fetishism of female body parts. The great film critic Pauline Kael admires Buñuel for the way he treats his characters, and she says he sees them as morally responsible human beings, not as ideas. So the powerful idea here is that there is no sentimentality attached with the poor. He is not clutching his pearls and saying, oh, these poor people, oh my God, these poor. He's not doing that. He's saying, look at these human beings. Look at how they're being treated by society, and look at how these children in particular are treating each other. So, as the film critic Derek Malcolm says, it's no use sentimentalizing the poor. They're there because of society's lacks, and they've been made brutes by society. So he sees them as morally responsible human beings who are simultaneously victimizing each other as well as victims of society. Finally, before I send you off to watch the film, which is provided on the next page, Buñuel was obliged to film an alternate ending in case the film wasn't a success. Luckily, he used the ending he wanted to use, which of course I won't reveal. But in the context videos page, I've included a 2-minute alternate ending that was filmed but not used. So after you watch the film, I'd like you to go off and watch the alternate ending and compare it to the original ending. On that note, I will leave you. I hope you enjoy the film. It's quite a powerful one and a dramatic one. And I will meet you back here for the post-film analysis lecture and the remainder of our module. Okay, thanks everyone for your attention. Bye-bye.